Sridhar Sivaram, Investment Director at Enam Holdings, joins us right now on the show. And Sridhar, good morning and thank you so much for joining in.
Thanks for inviting me.
No, the pleasure is always ours. You bring out points which a lot of mere mortals like me fail to look at first glance, and I'll come to those detailed points too. But just the broad 50,000 feet view, are you happy and enthused by the moves that have been taken? A lot of it was on predicted lines, but there was some better than expected delivery from the government as well.
So if you ask me, I'm happy with the moves that the government has taken now. We've been saying earlier that a direct tax cut benefits only 2 to 3% of the population, whereas any change in the indirect tax benefits 140 crore people and has a far-reaching impact. So I'm happy to see what has happened on the GST side, because this will have a much greater impact, but over time. So I think the problem is market often expects everything to happen the next day. That may not happen. We have a lot of other issues, on the geopolitical side or on the macro side. But if you ask me from the government side and RBI, they've done so much. There's only that much they can do. The rest is up to the corporates and the earnings and all the other factors to play out. But that's how markets are. They're never linear, right?
Yeah,
you have phases. So I have no complaints. I think they've done everything. And markets will play out over a period of time.
Most certainly. Is this meant to be, Sridhar? I mean, yesterday I was talking to Madhu and Ramdev, and they were saying that the view was that, or one of my interpretation of the view was that it's almost a measure that is even bigger than the budget announcements that are made at times, this simplification. And it has, as you said, a longer term implication, and people should look at it that fashion, that it is a move of such a magnitude that the benefits will play out over a 12, 18, 24-month period, and think of them that way, and they will be very large in nature. Would you second that?
Yeah, so I think when I look at the details, it sort of gives me a feel that the benefits are more to middle and lower middle class, and that's how it should be.
Right.
There are some, taxation which has gone up, some sin tax, and I have no complaints on that. It will neither have an impact to a large extent on the consumption either way, but the simplification and the reduction of taxes at the daily use items, those will have a longer lasting impact, and I think over a time it will play out. And the other thing is simplification, that you don't have so many tax slabs now, so it's a much easier and much simpler way. And I think I'll have to give full credit to the government for every reform measure that they have taken over the last, say, 3-4 years. And finally this, I mean, this is something that we've been saying, that indirect tax benefits more than a direct tax benefit. I'm not saying direct tax is not welcome. It is welcome, but
this is better.
I would prefer an indirect tax, and that's how it's played out.
Now, you've been a dove on inflation, and
yes.
I presume that you believe that this plus a set of recent moves are further deflationary or anti-inflationary.
Yeah, exactly. So I think not a lot is documented that a cut in GST also helps the CPI inflation. A rough calculation suggests that it should have an impact of about 50 basis points on a durable basis, because this is a cut in tax and the prices go down.
Right.
Now, will the entire 50 basis points stay? We are assuming at least 25 stays, because some price increases over a period do happen. But even a 25 basis points on a durable basis reduction is significant. So we were already on the dovish side as far as inflation is concerned. So our number for Q3 is around 2%, RBI is at 3.1. So we are almost now 100 basis points away from where RBI is. And I'm reasonably sure, which happened in Q2 also, that RBI came down closer to the number that at least we were suggesting. The same will happen for Q3 also. But the question is there more room for rate cuts? We think another 25 basis points, sure. And if Fed is supportive, that if Fed cuts some more, then we have more rooms. I think the joker in the pack here is how rupee is behaving. And so if RBI has to manage multiple legs, they'll have a close eye on how rupee is. And that may also determine whether they want to cut or not. But in our view, when we look at all of it put together, we think another 25 basis points, they'll have room.
The Fed seems to be given after yesterday's data. I mean, the overnight data in the US isn't exactly great for the labor force numbers,
Yeah,
right?
so we don't know how Fed is reacting. There are a lot of political
That's true.
issues happening there. We think that even, so there are some headwinds on inflation in the US also.
That's
so we don't know how that plays out. But when we look at, I'm not an expert on US, but most people I speak to think that another 25 to 50 basis points of cut in the US is possible.
Got it. Okay. So how does the investment landscape change between before September 3rd and after September 3rd, if this has the potency to make investment rationale change, the GST 2.0?
See, we don't make such drastic changes because of a policy that has come just now. We'll want to wait and see how this plays out. Surely this has a boost on consumption. The expected number is, say, around, say, 1 lakh crore over a period of time. And we'll have to see how this plays out and what happens, which sector. It is, I'm not in the camp that if there is a reduction in GST in, say, in auto, it will benefit auto. I'm not going to buy more cars, but it may benefit in some other segment. Because if I have saved some money, I was anyway supposed to buy a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler. I'm not going to buy another one, but I saved some money, so I may be using that for something else.
Okay.
So it's a second derivative impact which I have to look at. And it's possible that I may be repaying a loan. So that's what I said, that it's not a direct impact. I'm not going to change my consumption view because something has happened, but I do have surplus in my hand. And how does that play? That is more critical.
But you don't believe that for some people who may have thought that prior to the GST cuts, this thing was just slightly out of reach. Maybe now it's within reach. I can muscle up money from somewhere else which I was supposed to spend and instead buy a two-wheeler or a car. That may not happen.
May not be for the car, maybe for a two-wheeler.
Two-wheeler.
Yeah.
Maybe not for a car. Okay.
So to that extent, yeah. And some people argue that if you're buying, for somebody who's at that level and he's using a loan, then the loan EMI isn't that different.
That's true.
But as I said, there is a saving. And the question is, how does that saving play out? Is it discretionary consumption? Is it some over leverage that gets paid out? So the leverage comes down, which is great. So time will tell. But as I said, on a broader scale, I think it's very positive. We needed a push for consumption, and that has come. We'll see how it plays out.
But I wonder, sorry, just one last point on that. I want to probe this a little bit more. I remember budget 2025, the income tax cuts, and the post-budget meeting that happens at the Motilal Oswal office. Everybody was talking about how will the 12,000 rupees be spent, right? Consumption, maybe savings, maybe investments, maybe consumption, but consumption. Then this, plus the interest rate cuts. You're not very gung-ho on consumption somehow, or is it my imagination?
No, I'm not very gung-ho on consumption because a lot of other macro factors are also playing out. So keep in mind that, this has to come from somewhere. Government is not imagining, okay?
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
So where is this coming from? And our understanding is that this comes from a reduction in capex spending, not only from the center, also from the state.
Right.
Now, a reduction in capex has a longer lasting impact. So it isn't like, I would have been happier if we did a, PSU divestment, some privatization, massive, and we got a bonanza. And from that bonanza, we gave out, this tax cut. That's not the case. So the sum of part is zero here. So
Yes,
you're reallocating money from one to the other.
But hence my question, Sridhar, that therefore capex may suffer, but consumption may not.
So capex suffering has its second derivative impact, right? So the contractor is not getting more business, and then his labor is unemployed. So which is why I said, if you ask me, the sum of part is zero right now. I would have been happier if they had done, asset sale and use that asset sale proceeds to give a bonanza. That would have been a it would have had a larger impact. I'm not saying this will not have an impact. I'm saying that this will play out as you would have seen. I had said earlier, even on the budget speech, And I'm not very enthused with the impact that a direct tax cut will have, because you and me also got benefits.
Yeah.
Does it make a difference to either of us? No. I mean, did we consume more just because I got some 5,000-10,000 extra? No. Maybe the person who was earning 25,000, he benefited. But in the overall scheme of things, it didn't add up much, because we already seen, say, 6 months of data. So that's my point, that this will add up, but over a period of time. And I would want to see which sectors will benefit. Maybe at the lower end, the discretionary spending is what I would want to, if I have to take a guess, I would say discretionary spending would benefit.
Okay. Now, the other aspect of talking to Sridhar Sivaram is that he's a hawk on data. He looks at data in multiple ways and then tries and. So I'm now trying to urge you to not hypothesize and tell us, based on the data that you've seen, or based on your assessment of how geopolitics has moved, maybe the thawing of India-China relationships and what that could do to availability of rare earths, etc., is there something that you would want to, that you are pointing towards or leaning towards in terms of the outlook ahead for themes, for investable ideas, what have you?
So I think what is happening is that our macro on the Forex side has deteriorated.
Okay.
Which is what we are seeing on the rupee. And the current account deficit, our net FDI has been literally zero for a while, because even though we get FDI, we get outflows from corporate selling and the private equity selling. We saw a large block happen even yesterday. So this has an impact on the Forex reserves. And my guess is the Forex reserves, as we get more and more data, this will come down. Plus, we'll have a hit on the exports. So this has certain impacts on the liquidity in the system. So I would guess that Reserve Bank, in the past, in the last 3-4 months, has been very dovish till they became neutral in the last policy. They may sound a bit more hawkish, trying to balance inflation and currency.
Okay.
That may have some impact on the, the markets, which is in the short term, even though we've had. So if people ask, so much of good news has come, why has the market not reacted? This is possibly the reason, that there is a possibility that, you can't ignore currency. When you have a current account deficit, you know that your exports are going to get hit. Whichever way we see it, our exports are going to get hit. Plus, we have an issue on the net FDI. So I think this is possibly a data point which market's not focusing so much right now. But I think the end result of the market and the way the currency is behaving is telling you what FIs are doing. That they are looking at all this and they're saying, hey, the macro as far as currency and Forex reserves for the country is not looking that great. Maybe they're reallocating. I can't really guess. So that's how I would say that, from the consensus view, this is the only anti-consensus that I can think, that is one of the reasons why the market's not behaving as euphorically as it should have after some of these outcomes.
Well, viewers, maybe this is the answer, because that's the question that's been plaguing almost everybody's mind for the last 36 hours at the very least. And maybe this is one thing that the market has not focused on as much, as Sridhar said. Sridhar, such a pleasure talking to you. Always get a data point or two. Sridhar, actually, just before we wrap up, quick 30 seconds. This time I'm not going to do the wild parks, but gold, silver, massive run. Quick 30 seconds. What's your thought?
So I still remain bullish on gold and silver. But you can't expect 50% return on gold every year. Like we've got a 50% return. I think central banks continue to massively buy. So I would remain long on gold with a view that you can't expect 50% return on this asset class every year.
Okay, but heading into the festive season, guys, if you wanted to buy gold, Sridhar is saying that it's okay. I mean, there will be returns, so maybe don't look at the pennies. The pounds will take care of themselves. Sridhar Sivaram, thank you so much for joining in today.
Thanks for calling.